What is going on, everybody? It is Jamie, and welcome to the channel Thrift on Fire, and welcome to day 21 of a video every single day in February. And today it's going to be video 3 of the podcast with me and fellow YouTuber Reselling with Jon. Reselling with Jon here on YouTube and Instagram. We'll throw all of his details up on the screen right now. So like I said, this is our third episode of the Is This a Podcast series. We're kind of working on a name. I think we're kind of narrowing it down, which is a good thing. We're going to talk about that here in a minute. The other thing is we've been kind of throwing around the idea of potentially next Tuesday doing a live. So we'll just do this live. Will it count as a video in the series? I'm not sure. We could still pre-record it if the live doesn't work out, but it is something we're talking about. If you'd be interested in us doing a live, if you'd be interested in being part of the conversation, you can jump in the comments. That would be awesome. Let us know if you think we should do it or not, and let's get into this one. Before we officially start, we can kind of chat about the name a little bit. I think we're both kind of liking the something to do with the A to Z. There's a lot of beaver talk going on there too.
I like the A to Z. I think it's clever, but still shows like the Canadian side of it, but without maybe being a little bit too in your face. Like the beaver thing, I think is just, to me, it's just a little too jokey. I don't know. I mean, whatever. I don't really care, but it's just a little bit too bold for my taste, personal taste. But yeah, I think
over the top.
You know, it's cute.
Yeah, I like that. And then you always get the, is it Z or Z, right? I think here in Canada we know what it really is, but we're always going to have the conflict there.
Yeah.
But with the Z to Z conflict, we could also talk a little bit about selling in the US. Like how do we really compete with US sellers here in Canada? Shipping's obviously a huge factor. We want to ship in the US, to the US, I should say, basically because there's so many more people there, but it's a huge factor here when you're selling online.
Yeah. It's funny. I was just talking about this to my girlfriend because I've been selling a lot of older listings that I've had for like a year and a half. And because I put a sale on, and some of that stuff just has a flat rate shipping in there. And she's like, oh, wow, you were charging that much. But Canada Post tracked packet to the US for like a pair of jeans was like $25 when I started. Now, like they have gotten really the only way I'm competing, the only way that I'm actually being even a little bit competitive is that eBay and Canada Post currently have like some steep discounts going on, so I can purchase my label, and it is like $12-13 to send a pair of jeans to the US as opposed to double that. But honestly, I mean, I don't have like cross-border shippers. I don't have like Stallion Express or like I can't use like USPS rates and stuff, so I'm at a real disadvantage if they take those promotional rates away on eBay. I'm pretty much at their mercy. The only thing that I can kind of do to counter that is, and how I started out, I had to be really selective in what I was picking up and thinking, okay, well, if the US can sell it, and then thinking about the conversion in Canadian dollars, if the US seller can sell it for $30, but it's only going to be like, $10 to ship down there, can I sell that same item and get $20 for it, knowing my shipping's going to be so much higher? So you got to be a lot more strategic, and it really limits the amount of things you can sell in Canada if you don't have those good options.
Yeah, I agree. And I've talked obviously a lot about cross-border shippers, and because I've used a bunch of different ones. I mean, I'm currently using Stallion Express. Prior to that, I was using Swift Post quite a bit until they stopped shipping to the US. I've tried Chit Chats. I don't particularly love it. I've tried a few other ones as well, but I do. Every time I do kind of cross back to eBay right now, the rates are getting a lot better. It makes me wonder some days if it's worth the drive up to London. But like you said, if that discount goes away, if the agreement they have with Canada Post, then we're right back to square one, and it is just very expensive to ship to the US. It's expensive enough to ship within Canada, to be honest. So
yeah, for sure. Like when I think it was for Q4, I think is when they got in these good promotional rates. And like I say, a tracked packet over 500 grams, I think was like $27, and now it's like 13. And then they extended it, I think, to the end of March. So I'm hoping they can come to some long-term deal.
Yeah.
Otherwise, in another month and a bit, I need to figure something else out. But
Yeah. I would actually love to know too, like when I get offers and stuff from US, um, it's from everybody, but I find a lot of times US buyers, they'll really lowball me. And a lot of times they'll say, hey, because shipping's so much money, this is what I'm willing to offer you. I don't know if you get messages like that once in a while. I get them quite often. And that kind of, it's really hard because when you're sending out offers, it's one thing because you're in control of the offer, right? But when you get offers in, sometimes you get those low ball offers. Like, how do you deal with those? And do you think part of it is because of shipping rates?
I mean, I get it. I do. I understand where they're coming from. The end of the day, if we're still talking about shipping as being part of the factor or part of the equation, I mean, I got to pay that anyway when I send it out. So like,
Yeah.
I can't take a super low offer and then break even or lose money because I'm paying so much for shipping. But as far as sending out offers and stuff goes, I mean, yeah, it's a big thing. And when I get really low ball offers, like let's say I've got something listed for $50 and someone offers me 10, and that happens all the time. Like that's not people contacting and saying because of shipping, it's just people lowballing. I'll usually just counter again at like, if they're gonna go to 20% of my asking price, then I'll go like maybe 10% off, and I'll just give them like a really small bit off on a counter offer. Typically, though, like I don't know. Typically, I'm down to accept almost any offer as long as it's reasonable and making some money because like I said, my inventory is mostly clothing, so like I have a list price that I'm getting at my thrift store. So
Yeah.
I kind of know right away, like, okay, at least I'm making $10 or making $15, and it's not a big deal. But yeah, when I'm sending out offers, though, I pretty much like I don't like using the tool where you choose a percentage off. I
Okay.
think I like actually sending a round number. So, like, let's say I've got something listed for $24.99. I don't necessarily want to send something out for 10 or 15% off because might just be some random number. I like it being nice and clean. So if it's $25 it's listed for, I'll do like 22. Like
Yep.
I don't know. Psychologically, I think it makes more sense. But
Yeah, and that's funny. I've started doing the opposite sense in app. Now they started offering you could bulk send offers. I'll look
mm,
at stuff maybe that's recently been listed and maybe not give that offer, but I'll pick everything in the list that I'd be willing to put out an offer and usually do like a 10% across the board just because it's easier. But I don't know about you. I try to send offers out at least once a day, sometimes even twice a day. If I have a second look and I see there's some more opportunity there, I'll send a second round of offers out.
yeah, I'm constantly checking the app. I will open up the app probably 10 times a day and just refresh and see if I can send out offers because I want to be as aggressive with that as possible. I want to make sure that the second somebody's watching my item or looks at my item or there's an impression that allows me to send an offer, bang, send it out as soon as I can because well, it's fresh in their mind. They might have moved on, bought something else, and
Yeah.
spent the budget for the day, right? So I aggressively send out offers as often as I can. Um, with that bulk offer tool on eBay now, like that the app's been updated, I will say this: I like that it like you can check a box that it will automatically send that same offer to any new watchers. I
Yep.
like that. So there's definitely some listings that I'll use that tool and I will use that bulk thing just so I can have like automatically sending out the offers.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's some things where it's like maybe today I'm in the mood to send out 30% on that item, but I don't really need to sell it. I would just like to move it today if I could, so I don't like set it to that. But I don't know. It's just there's a lot of options, and it's. I mean, I'm sure if we talk about Poshmark and using Posh Sidekick, it's kind of the same deal. Like you can set it to automatically send out those offers for you, but it kind of changes for me day to day. It depends on the mood I'm in. It depends on if I've made a big sale already. I might be more likely to send out aggressive offers, try to move some more stuff. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Does that affect you at all? Like if you've made like a good sale for the day,
Yes.
do you ever think to yourself, okay, I can let this one go a little bit cheaper? Or
Yep. Yeah, it does 100%. I also feel like, and I don't know that there's even an ounce of truth to this, but I also feel like sometimes when you can get sales starting to roll on eBay, all of a sudden you haven't had a sale and then you get one, and it just seems to trickle into more sales. So,
yeah,
sometimes I'm even willing to take something that I'm not super happy with just to get a sale. And then it usually winds up, starting the engine and, you wind up with a few more sales. So,
I have noticed that, and actually, it's weird. I noticed that on Poshmark too. I think there's
yeah.
such an algorithm involved in all of this that, like, yeah, there might not be any real hard scientific data to back this up, but like, I didn't have a sale on Poshmark for like 3 days, and then all of a sudden, sent out an offer. Well, Posh Sidekick did it for me, but sent out an offer, got a sale, and then within 3 hours, I had 7 sales. I honestly think it's just like, I think eBay's the same and Poshmark. You make something, you get that momentum, and you just get that bump in the results.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel the same way. And I was actually thinking too, when you were talking before about sending out offers on eBay, about how you kind of deal with lowball offers. In the back of my head, I'm thinking, oh, that's funny. I'm like, I must be like a little bit more petty. If I get an offer that is insulting to me, I'll almost send back a full price offer always. And that actually bit me in the butt the other day. So I got a low ball offer from somebody, and I'm like, maybe. But then I looked at their account and they made the account that day, like the exact same day. I'm like, this is a brand new account. I'm just gonna. I should have done nothing. So here's what happened. I full said no, no. Actually, I might even declined. Whatever happened, I think I declined the offer, and then they wound up buying it for full price, and then I wound up shipping it out. But this item in particular was, I think you'll see it in an upcoming video of what sold video. It was a drum module that was sold as power tested only for parts. Basically, I was saying that it wasn't working, but it was functioning, like you could push through all the
Yeah,
buttons. I'm like, oh yeah, for sure this is going to wind up being a case or something. Because a lot of times that's the other thing I will look at. Why I'm mentioning it is a lot of times I'll look to see if it's actually somebody I'd want to make a deal with, because there's a lot of first time buyers like that who it just feels scammy right off the bat.
it does. No, that's definitely a factor. I'm glad you brought that up. That is part of the equation for sure. And you know what? Like, I yeah, everybody's new at some point. Like, you're
Yeah.
always going to be new to eBay or new to Poshmark or new to whatever platform at some point. New accounts are going to happen. Most of them are probably legit. But my experience has been that when you start getting those people who are just constantly badgering you with questions, or just really super lowballing back and forth, countering like $1 more than they did previous,
Yeah.
like read between the lines, you're going to have problems with those people. You're almost always going to have problems.
Yep.
It's just a huge red flag. And yeah, but you know what though? I do kind of sometimes have petty counter offers, because if somebody, like, say, counters that $10 or offers $10 on my $50 item, let's say I go back with 45 because I'm feeling like I don't want to give them a whole lot. If they come back with like 12, I might even counter higher than I did previously and be like 49.82 or something like that. And then they'll message or they'll say something like, that was higher than your last. I was like, well, I'm not playing games, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, there seems to be a lot of that, but on both platforms, I find I don't. I know you don't sell on Etsy, but on Etsy, I don't even mess with offers. I just leave whatever the listed price is. I think you can send offers on it or have discounts and stuff, but I just don't. But yeah,
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, it's a weird thing. I mean, it's like you want to make sales, you want to like barter with people, and I love the whole like merchant bartering aspect of reselling. But there are some people, you just, I don't know, they just rub me the wrong way.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, so like, what else would you say as far as offers go? Would you be open to, like, I know on Poshmark bundles, when we start bundling things together, I'll let
Mhm.
things go for. I'm always not letting things, for the most part, the odd time I'll give something away for almost free just to make the sale on 4 or 5 more things. But
Yeah.
for the most part, I will take bigger discounts if I'm selling multiple things to one person.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. I'm the same way. So yeah, on Poshmark, I like that it automatically um, That's one of my favorite features, to automatically do something like that,
Yeah.
where you've got, a discount for bundles. So I have mine set, and I love the customization of it too. Like you can set the number of items, set the discount. I do have mine set to, if you put 2 items in a bundle, you're getting 20%. Because again, like I know that I do have a relatively low cost of goods. I know that my average buy cost is like $6. So even if they put like two $20 items together, and now all of a sudden they're only $16 items, like that's still more than a double up on both those things. So I don't want to be a volume seller necessarily. Like I'm happy to move things. And if someone's going to buy more than one item, yeah, like same deal, I'll take a discount. Um, so it's 20% off if it's 2 items on Poshmark. I've had people though, buy bundles of 5, 6, 7 items, and yeah, I'm the same way. Like there are things where it's like, okay, well, they're basically getting this $50 sweater for free, and that's fine. Like I don't need to hold out for that profit on that item if it means I've just sold 6 other things.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's easy to worry about how much money you're losing, but you're not really losing it if you're profiting on all of those other items. So
Yeah.
everybody's got their line, but for me, I'm all about moving stuff, and I'm very flexible with offers, especially if you're buying more than one thing.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense to me. I wasn't really sure, honestly, how you would answer that because I know I don't. Did you track probably individual items, don't you?
I track every item,
Yeah.
cost of goods, sale price, the fees, my income from it, and my net profit on each item.
Yeah, I assume that based off of just your what solds and when you're
Yeah.
talking in your videos, I'm way more loosey goosey. It's cost of goods in, then I obviously what things sold for through the month. So I'm just going month to month and looking at things. I'm not really, I can see how long things have been listed for, but I don't track every single item. I don't even inventory them that way. Like I said, I use QuickBooks to do accounting. When I do that, it's just the amount that I spent at the thrift store that day, and that goes into cost of goods, right? And then you can take away that, and you can take away your shipping cost and whatever. And at the end of the year or the end of the month or however you want to look, I can see how profitable the month or the week was, but
Right.
not I could break down items if I wanted to, but I don't really track them that way.
Yeah. Sometimes I think to myself that it's not necessarily worth doing, or like it doesn't really matter. But I'm such a numbers guy, man. Like I love math. Like it's my thing. So like I
Yeah.
actually really enjoy the process as well, and like getting it right down to the cent. Um, but yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, even though like I'm looking at those numbers and I'm literally calculating my profit in cents and being like, okay, that was better by 12 cents than this other shirt I bought. Like, I still don't really care about those numbers too much, as long as at the end of the day I am making money. But yeah, it's more of a fun little side thing for me.
Oh, and I get it. It's a personality thing, and I know my wife does like Excel sheets, everything. She's got like a journal. She tracks her finances in and out, and this is just for her own enjoyment, right? Like, and
Yeah,
I look at that like, wow, I couldn't be bothered. It's cool for her, she'll break things down and say like how much money she saved, and she's got all these things, and it's cool. My brain just doesn't work like that.
right. Yeah, I have a spreadsheet for my monthly personal budget as well. I track every cent I spend on groceries, every cent I spend on fuel, like
Yep.
everything. Like so, at the end of the month, it's like, okay, I was at exactly this, and I don't know. There's no need of it really, but I don't know. It's just fun.
Yeah, I mean, I do for my business expense, right? Like I track my gas and kilometers and that because it's going to be
Yeah,
a write off at the end of the year. But yeah, I never really broke my personal life down that way, but it's always interesting. I know people do, and
yeah.
some people love numbers. Um, yeah. Speaking of numbers, what were your numbers like this past week? And in particular, was there a sale of the week?
Yeah, so numbers were decent. For me right now, with an eBay store of about just under 1,000 items, and somebody is doing it part time. Like honestly, I might be putting in 12 to 16 hours a week. My average week, if I'm thinking about what were my actual sales dollars, like what, if I'm hitting $1,000 in sales a week, I'm very happy with that, because I know that's hundreds of dollars of profit again, and that's a part time thing. Um, my numbers were around 700 for the week, which I mean, I really can't complain about because again, it's a part-time thing. But the margins were really high because I did have some good items that were either like zero buy cost to me, or really cheap buy cost to me that just happened to all sell in the same week. So numbers were down, but the profits were about the same as a regular week for me.
Yeah.
And the top item was actually an N64 game, another N64 game, Resident Evil 2. It sold for $70. So
Wow.
I mean, and that was all profit because it was a zero buy cost.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know my sales have been steady. My biggest problem is I've been spending more than I should be.
Oh,
Whether it's just things like something simple like the chair I'm sitting in, I didn't really need. I spent money on. Just did recently. You seen a video where I did a wholesale buy, dropping
hmm,
$600. It basically makes me have to not thrift. Like I thrifted a couple times the last couple of days when I was out, but it wasn't to scale that I want to or did, because I'm like, I have to list what I bought. Like that's way too much money to spend. It's
right.
probably more money than I made in profit the prior week, right? So you really have to like restrain yourself. The good thing about that is spending money on quality stuff. As you'll see in videos coming up, I'm selling this stuff that I just literally bought because it's good quality stuff that will sell. Um, Now, as far as for me, a sale of the week, it's a good sale. I found this one interesting. I had somebody reach out to me on Instagram and asked to buy a Toronto Maple Leafs leather slash wool jacket that I picked up about a month ago or so. And I thought, okay, maybe this person's seen it on YouTube video, maybe my video, maybe they see. I actually took that jacket on the Scott Sell Stuff show to show on a Sunday night. I thought, oh, maybe he just seen it and thought, hey, this would be cool to buy from him. He actually said, "Hey, I found this jacket on Poshmark, and then because I'm just Thrift on Fire or the store, like pretty much there's like you're gonna find me under the store 670 or 654 or Thrift on Fire. That's pretty much the same through everything. You can find me that way." And he just found me on Instagram and said, "Hey, this is cool." Asked me a few questions. He said, "You offered me a deal on Poshmark. I don't get paid till Thursday. Could we still do that deal on Thursday?" And I'm like, yeah, but we might as well not do it on Poshmark. If you want to do it through Instagram, that'd be so much better. I could give you a better deal, which I did. I think I let him have it for $120 plus free shipping. I shipped it for like $5 or something with a courier service, and we're
Nice.
both very, very happy with that. And I don't have too many. I don't have too many viewer sales. I do once in a while and get people who reach out, seen something, and want to buy it from me. But that's not even a viewer sale. I just found that so interesting that somebody found it on Poshmark and had enough,
Yeah.
to find me on social media and ask me questions about it. I'm like, oh, that's pretty interesting. And he never once said, you know, about my YouTube channel or any other social media whatsoever.
Hmm. Yeah, no, that is interesting. That's pretty cool. I haven't had anything quite like that happen. I did have somebody comment on one of my YouTube videos once and say, "Hey, I'm really interested in this thing," but it had already sold because it was actually a thrift that I'd filmed like 2 weeks prior and just got
Yeah.
it listed, and the other right or scheduled or posted, and the item had already sold. But no, that's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. It's like it is a good sale, but I thought more than anything it was a sort of an interesting story because I mean it's not a way that I normally sell things. I don't normally sell things directly through Instagram, even
Right.
though I've done a few Instagram lives with people where the intent was to sell things, but it's super hard to sell things on Instagram, honestly, unless you have a huge following and whatever, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Hey, on the same note, I know this will be a little bit off topic, but I'm going to share a buy of the week as well
Okay.
because
Yeah.
this was a really, really weird, interesting thing that happened. I randomly, because I'm in a town that I used to live in. My backdrop is different here, so I'm in a place about an hour and a half from home where I used to live, and I randomly ran into a guy that I knew when I was a kid, like a little kid. I think our parents are my mom and her mom and his mom somehow related, like third cousins or something. But like we knew each other as kids, and I randomly ran into him, and we just got talking about video games and stuff like that, and talking about Switch games and stuff. And he's like, "Oh, I have a copy of Minecraft for the Switch that I don't even remember where I got it, and I've never played it." And I have it in my pocket right now. Do you want it for $5?
What?
How does this even happen? Like, I love Minecraft, and I do own it digitally on the Switch, but it's like, for $5, how can I not put a physical copy in my collection? So it's not for reselling or anything like that, but it was just a weird, interesting thing. So it was like, okay, person I haven't seen in 25 years, sure,
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's always fun running into, well, sometimes. I mean, I was gonna say it's always fun running into childhood friends or like stuff like that.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's like, oh man, not so much. It really depends on how their life's been going. Yeah,
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 put your head down, keep walking.
yeah. Which is funny. I think I mean, I don't know how I come off online, but I am definitely not like an introvert, and I'm not super social. I like going to like ballparks and doing things out in public, but I don't really
Mhm.
want to interact with people for the most part. Like I kind of just like to be left alone. So it's kind of funny. I know a lot of people probably think that, oh, he's probably got a bubbly personality and you could approach me. I would always be nice, but I would never, go around like flaunting anything and just like I'm just such an introvert when it really comes down to it.
I'm 100% the same way. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny. And that probably doesn't surprise me because I know a lot of people I know who do like YouTube and different things like this generally are, and it can just be an outlet, for some sort of creative thing as well, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, so we kind of talked a little bit about returns when we're talking, I guess, about sending offers, and I said the little story about potentially I might be getting a return.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but do you allow returns on Poshmark? It's sort of uh, they govern it completely different than eBay. eBay gives you a little bit of a choice, but in the end, really, when push comes to shove, anything could be returned for the right reason. But how do you feel about returns, and how do you have your eBay store set?
Okay, so I mean, overall, um, I think overall, just allowing returns and it being like something that's just like, oh yeah, you can buy this and return it, no problem. To me, that just creates a rental style business that I absolutely don't want to deal with. So I don't have returns turned on because to me, especially somebody who's just like part time doing this casually, half the money I make from this goes towards paying off debts and bills and things like that. So like I don't need this money, but I do kind of rely on it. I rely on cash flow to be able to buy more stuff, right? So like
Yeah,
I don't want to make like $150 sale, somebody have it for a week and then be like, oh yeah, I don't want it, and then just send it back. Like that's a huge inconvenience. Um, so I don't have returns set up. I never intend on having returns set up, and I know like some people do because they want to be like top rated seller plus. You get offer same day shipping and free returns and all the rest, and it's like to me, I don't feel like the bit you'll save on fees by doing that even justifies it. I mean, maybe if this was like like some YouTubers I'll see like YouTubing couples, and this is what they do like full time. It's like the entire family's whole business and way of life. Okay, maybe that makes sense if you're doing like $250,000 in sales every year and it's a small impact to you. But yeah, to me, it's just a complete pain. I don't want to deal with it. I've sold over 1,400 items on eBay, and I've only ever twice had somebody ask to return something, even though I didn't have returns set up. One of them, it was a woman who, even though the measurements were in the pictures, she bought a pair of pants knowing that it might not work for her. She got them. Sure enough, they didn't fit. She asked if she could return them. I said, okay, if you want to pay the return shipping, you go right ahead. Well, the return shipping to Canada is going to deter anybody in the
yeah,
US from returning something anyway. They're going to be like, that's stupid. I'll just keep it. So
yep,
that's what she did. And then the other thing was like it was a Sega Genesis game that didn't work. I know it didn't work because they were using it in one of those Retron systems that
yeah,
sometimes, like, they don't play all games properly. So instead of an original Sega Genesis, but it was like a $20 thing. I really didn't care that much. They were only in New Brunswick, one province away from me. I said, yeah, send it back, letter mail. Like when I get it, I'll just refund you the difference or whatever. And and they did, and it was fine. Like even though I didn't have to do it, I just did because it didn't make that much of a difference to me. But yeah, Returns are just a complete pain, and I don't want to deal with them, and I refuse to unless I'm forced to. But
Yeah.
even in that like item not as described case, which I'm sure you'll talk about, where people can force returns, I
Yes.
actually haven't had that happen. So, I'm just crossing my fingers and hoping that the trend continues. And while it could happen someday, it's not a big enough thing to even worry about.
Yeah. So one of the things, and maybe you don't realize this, or maybe it doesn't change your mind whatsoever. I do have returns on, but it's buyer pays return.
Okay.
So that's just the option. You could, I'll take your return for any reason, but you're going to pay, which is essentially what you're saying anyway, right? And I've had clothing items like recently. I had somebody send a pair of jeans back, and they're like, I don't know, I've got these exact pair of black 505 jeans, but for some reason yours fit bigger. I'm like, okay, that's fine. And they sent them back. It was from Quebec. I'm sure it's almost doesn't seem worth it to me because I know, like you said, like they paid probably well, they sent them in one of the what are the pre-packaged ones. The
Oh yeah. So I mean, you're
um,
looking $20 anyway.
yeah, yeah. So where you just pay the flat rate and throw them in there. That's how it was sent. So yeah, they're down $20. I did refund them their original shipping. And with which I don't think you have to. I'm not really sure. I usually do unless I'm really irritated. But yeah, I'll take returns back that way for sure. With the INADs or items not as described, most of the time, if I get those, I usually just wind up refunding the buyer because it's really hard to fight those. The last one I tried to fight was probably less than a month ago. And if you go look at my eBay store, actually, I can just pop it up on screen during editing. I refuse to refund somebody. I'm still fighting with eBay. I've got getting feedback taken down. They basically wanted the shoes that they bought. They fit them. There's a discrepancy whether they were black or a midnight blue or like a dark blue.
Oh, okay.
They said, hey, like, give me a partial refund, or they basically try to blackmail. They're like, give me a partial refund, or I'm going to leave you bad feedback because these are item not as described. And I said, I already offered you I already offered you a discount when you bought these. If I offered you more than that, it would make no sense. Just please ship them back to me, and I'll refund you 100%. And they didn't want to do that. And the end of the story is they left negative feedback. I responded to the feedback. So far, eBay is just saying it's sell or buyer's experience, and they're leaving it up there. But I'm trying to work to get that taken away. But yeah, eventually you will get the item not as described, and it'll you'll be on that fence, and you'll be like, okay, is this worth fighting? Do I just refund the person? It's such a tough thing to know what to do. Especially, I guess you really have to look to see if you have any faults in what's happening, or if the person's just being unreasonable. There's
Yeah,
so many
or
things.
feedback extortion in this case. I mean,
Yeah, there are lots of ways to get that removed. It just takes. Uh, well, they've changed it. It used to be a lot easier, and now I think eBay uses a third-party company to deal with their feedback. So when you actually do wind up talking to somebody from eBay, I don't think they actually remove it themselves. They use another company to do it.
okay.
And it's kind of messy. It's actually a lot more messy, and I believe it's going to be a lot more problems for people. As far as Poshmark goes, Poshmark usually backs up the sellers more than they do people buying. Um, I've had just recently, I had somebody say, I think they bought a pair of jeans that were 3230s, and they had said, actually, they kind of tried to say that maybe I steamed these jeans or something and shrunk them because they wouldn't fit. I'm like, first, that's ridiculous. Why would I shrink jeans purposely? And
Right.
they're sized the way that they are, and they're listed with photo or with measurements. Like this is exactly how they are. And for that particular one, Poshmark closed the case and gave me the money, and the guy had to keep, I think it was a guy had to keep the jeans. You don't even get a choice though on Poshmark. It's up to them, right? Like when anybody opens any sort of disputes, you can talk back and forth, but somebody from Poshmark makes a decision on what actually happens.
Yeah, I actually like that because there's then there's a clear three-way communication. You, the buyer, and Poshmark are all in the chat, and I really like that. I had somebody recently want to return a wool blazer, like an equestrian style blazer, because it didn't fit. I said, well, unfortunately, here's a screenshot from Poshmark's own return policy terms of service. Like doesn't fit is not a reason for a return or a refund per Poshmark policy. Like I put measurements in there, like I don't know what to do, but I really don't want to have you return this and me be out $60 because the measurements were right there in the photo. That's up to you. Unfortunately, not to be mean, but it is what it is. And so they escalated it, and Poshmark was like, no, that's not, how it works. And then before the case was closed, the buyer was grasping at straws. They were like, oh, well, also, and I didn't mention this at first, but also it says that this was gray in your listing, but if you look really close under certain light, you can see it's almost like a kind of a brownish hint in there as well.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I mean, okay, it's granted that is a possibility. Like, I don't know, I don't see it, but if your eyes see a tinge of brown under a certain light with this tweed wool kind of a looking blazer, I mean, okay, but I don't know what to do with that. Like, I guess you would have to open up a separate case for that. And Poshmark just shut it down. It was like, do not engage with this buyer anymore. Like, you're covered.
Yeah, that's correct. And that's also, they have the option on Poshmark to reposh, right? It's supposed to be a social site, so you can resell. You can actually, if you reposh, I think they can actually use your photos, your everything.
Yeah, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything at all. You can reposh and everything auto-populates exactly as it was. You can put in your description, like anything you want to add, you can change it or whatever. But otherwise, the exact same description comes up and everything. It's great.
Yeah. And for a lot of those reasons, I mean, we're just talking about now, if I could probably do everything that I wanted to do on one website, like if I could sell, I know people do sell VCRs and electronics and stuff on Poshmark, but if you could sell that at the same volume that you could on eBay, I would just love to just deal with Poshmark. It's such a cleaner platform as far as reselling goes.
Yeah, well, there's a little bit more respect for sellers on Poshmark. I mean, let's face it, I love eBay. I've made a lot of money on eBay, but they do not respect sellers whatsoever. So
no,
it's unfortunate, but yeah. No, hopefully I don't, my streak continues. I don't have to deal with any returns or whatever. But personally, I don't think I'll ever turn them on. But if somebody contacts me in a message and asks if they can return something, I mean, I'm going to be pretty reasonable about it. I don't want to turn it on because then I feel like my fear is that people will abuse that and just treat it as like a rental thing, or like, I'll just try on these clothes, and if they don't fit, I'll just send them back. It's like, well, that's fine, but that's why I take the time and the effort to make sure I'm measuring everything, giving really precise information in my listings. Like, I'm doing my part. I want buyers to do theirs, but with clothing especially, return rates could be high if people are just abusing it. Try it on, send it back.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
On behalf of John and myself, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys want to see us do a live next week, let us know down in the comments. Otherwise, we'll probably just do a pre-record and throw it up like usual. But it is something that we've been talking about and throwing the idea around. So if there's interest, we'll definitely consider doing it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like videos like this, give it a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing for more content. And we'll see you tomorrow.